Greetings, Nightfarers, and welcome to another episode of Elden Dogs. This is, of course, your favorite podcast about Elden Ring and running around maps very fast and powering yourself up and defeating those freaking Night Lords. My name is Brad, but you know me as the Iron Menial, and I am here to clean up and try and make a little sense of this round table hold. Good to be here today.
And I'm A.E. Marling, the Executor, and I did have a question for the Iron Menial. When you're dashing, when you super spin around the round table, all those chairs explode. How long does that take you to fix every time we go on a night, we go out?
These Nightfarers have no respect for this place, and it's funny, yeah, breaking my chairs, but someone's got to fix those, and it takes a while. But it's tough to import wood to this place as well, this semi-dream world, wherever the heck we are.
Yeah, it must be all driftwood. That's why it just doesn't stay together very well.
It's not too strong.
To be fair, we are moving at the speed of torrent, really, when we're zipping around here. And I do feel that there's some... I feel that the Nightfarers have a spiritual element to them and that they might be close to... they use spirit springs like torrent, and they can go really fast. And they never die completely. So they might have a spirit, be more spirit than mortal. And
yeah, imagine if we were able to get Torrent in some of these matches, how fast we would be going around the map.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's much faster than the Nightfarers.
What if it was double fast?
Okay, that would be absolutely necessary. I would really need that. It would make getting some of those churches easier. Anyway, today we will be talking about the Nightfarers.
Yes, yeah, we're going to be jumping in to discuss the different gameplay, the differences that you're going to find between Nightfarer to Nightfarer. They all have their different skills and their arts, their dormant powers, and it's it can be a little overwhelming at first, knowing which one to choose to play as. I know that whenever I start a game, if there's someone that is like the cover character, I usually start with them just because I feel like that's kind of what they're pushing as like the first primary experience of the game.
Yeah, that's reasonable. And in this case, the cover character, well, to my mind at least, is the Wilder. And this is similar to, he looks like Vike from the Elden Ring cover. He's a standard bloke with a helmet on. He's
a bloke.
He's the most played class, not close. And he is a normal knight, but he also has the Mega Man attachment on his arm, or maybe the Metroid Samus's attachment. It has both the Scorpion, get over here, pull enemies, and it can tow you towards enemies, depending on how large they are. And you can just fling yourself across the map with it by jumping. So you're the most mobile class.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of like ways that Wilder... I still don't know how to fully move with this character, because if you like chain your grapples and your jumps together, you can really pick up a lot of speed.
Yeah, so it's grapple, jump, and then if you use the ultimate, you can then blast yourself further forward, and then I don't know what to do next. But yeah, at minimum, you can go fast. He is the Swiss Army Knife Knight. He even has a parry buckler, so you can do a lot with him. I'm definitely not parrying, but he can use any weapon in the game, and he's often the best at using any weapon in the game. And what I like doing is not committing myself to a greatsword, but just picking up whatever the best weapon I find, hopefully a legendary, and I'll be able to use it as the Wilder.
Yeah, kind of a standard build of a character. Like you said, pretty proficient in most weapons. The movement ability is going to be a big one. They're also coming with a passive ability, and that is the Sixth Sense. And it's not where Haley Joel Osment can see dead people, but you are able to cheat death a single time. And I didn't even realize this was happening the first time I wound up using it, because you actually perform an automatic dodge to avoid that lethal damage.
It makes a slight sound, and it refreshes every time you go to a grace. You can see it. There's a little snowflake icon, which you can see if it's still available in your, enhancements. So yeah, this is a very strong ability. Now, this game makes a distinction between the words ability, skill, and art. You have all characters have a passive ability, and then they have an active character skill. And in this case, his is the claw shot.
Yes. And it depends on the size of the enemy, too, whether you're going to pull them towards you. If they're tankier, you're going to fly closer to the enemy. Now, I used Wilder quite a bit when I was starting this game, and I loved the ability to get closer to the Night Lords, because some of them are very mobile, and they'll be moving around the map, and it's great to have something that pulls you right in real quick, especially if you pair that with like a jump afterwards. You can close a lot of distance. And for smaller enemies or for enemies with shields, that can get them open to attacks for your buddies, whoever you're playing with. I really dig everything about the claw shot.
Yeah, it feels really good. It does a slight amount of damage. You can hit people in the air with it. You can actually. So in this game, one of the conventions is it doesn't make sense in terms of lore or anything, but it makes sense in terms of game mechanics. In order to get people up from the ground who are dead or dying, you hit them. So you can actually use the claw shot to hit people at range and get them back to onto their feet. It takes 2 of them, so you need 2 of them chambered. But it is very good. Being able to access a Night Lord without having to continuously sprint towards them makes a big difference.
Yeah, one of the funnest parts of playing as Wilder. And the ultimate art, the Wilder, and a lot of people will see Wilder and they want to say Wilder like it's a name, but it's the Wilder. Their ultimate is the Onslaught Stake, where they fire an explosive iron stake that deals significant damage and can stagger foes, can be charged for increased impact.
Yeah, this is the Mega Man fire explosion from your arm.
Yeah.
In general, you'll want to charge it unless they're moving away from you, and it is quite strong. It does a lot of stance damage. You can often get a critical strike after this.
Yeah.
This whole character is very good, and honestly, we'd probably be better off if more people played the Wilder. There's definitely no downside to this character.
Yeah, and yeah, I like playing as the Wilder, and if I'm looking to have just kind of a standard run through the game, I'll fall back onto Wilder if I want something that I don't have to think about as much. It kind of feels a little more organic to me, and some of the other characters require you to be a little more on your toes, in my opinion. Like, I play the Guardian quite a bit in the network test, and I haven't played him once since the game came out. And tell me a little bit about the Guardian.
Yeah, so this is a bird with a big shield. He focuses on defense, and the intent is that he's protecting his flock. Now, this is really the opposite from the Wilder, because this character may be underpowered. It requires dedication, understanding of boss attack patterns, and perhaps specific relics to be good. This will help describe why. He doesn't really have a dodge. His dodge is incredibly weak.
The weakest dodge of all characters, I think.
Yeah. These characters are very different. If you're used to Elden Ring, other FromSoft titles, these characters are distinct from each other. They just don't have a few attribute points of difference. They're wildly different from each other, and that's excellent. That's interesting. In this case, the Guardian has the weakest dodge you'll have ever imagined. You're not supposed to use it, essentially.
Yeah.
Instead, he's supposed to rely on his passive ability, which is Steel Guard.
Yeah, brace with a shield to enhance guard strength, reducing incoming damage while holding the shield. Essentially, you're tanking damage.
Yeah, this is how this works mechanically. You're hit guard, and then in addition to that, hit dodge while you have guard depressed. Then you will go into super guard, essentially, which will make you you take almost no stamina damage from blocking. However, you lose stamina over time, and you really can't use this ability for very long. So what ends up happening is this is kind of like a soft parry. You are guarding, and then you increase that guard for a slight amount of time, and then you get out of it, out of this new guard stance. It is finicky, I would say. Anything that requires you, because on PlayStation, in order to activate this ability, you have to dodge, which is a directional dodge, or directional plus 0 to dodge while you're already guarding. So mechanically, there's a lot involved in it, and it is a little finicky, and you really have to want this character in order to make it work. It can. I just got out of a match where this Guardian was good, but a lot of times they aren't. It's because this character is hard to play, and as I said, probably on the lower. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll just get killed. And if you are dying first as Guardian, that's the worst feeling in the world. Maybe the second worst thing. We'll get to the worst thing shortly. That is ultimate art.
Yeah, I generally, when I see a Guardian show up on the teammates, I'm not pumped. It's like, fine, I trust whoever we're playing with, but the Guardian just seems a little less useful in some of the matches I've played. Their character skill is Whirlwind. They beat their wings to create a cyclone that knocks back or lift enemies and deflects projectiles, can be charged for extended range.
Yeah, this one is good, potentially. I'll say that. It can stun lock smaller monsters, and against larger enemies, it can do chip damage. It's probably better than doing guard poke for this character. Rather than using the stamina for guard poke, you're better off using this whirlwind ability, which I don't think uses stamina. It also can help get people up from the who are dead.
Yeah.
It can prevent them from getting worse, essentially. So it has a lot of utility.
What my favorite ability, though, the ultimate art, my favorite thing about the Guardian is the Wings of Salvation. Leap into the air and crash down, dealing area damage and boosting allies' defense. It can revive downed allies as well, can be charged to prolong the aura. I love that you fly high up into the air, you can kind of directionally aim where you're coming down, and it's kind of just this huge damage, AoE, and also just kind of protection thing that happens for you and the other Nightfarers in range. It looks cool, which that points from me for looking cool too.
Yeah, perhaps it's worth mentioning that this bird has an injured wing, unfortunately. He and his clan were attacked. You will find a little bit about that in his remembrance. So he has a damaged wing. It is hard for him to fly, but his ultimate art, he does get into the air and then dive down. In order to describe this ability, we will have to say a few words about death and rezzing. When people die, they fall down on the ground with one bar or one bar. I guess you call it a res bar. And if you slap them really hard, the res bar will go away and they'll get back up. Now, if they fall down again in the same battle or they haven't gone to a grace yet, they'll have 2 res bars, and that requires you to shake them really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then if they die a third time, they'll have 3 res bars, and it's logarithmically hard, or it's exponentially hard. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. You can't really resurrect them at 3 bars unless you have an ability like this ultimate art, which will get them up, and I believe it will actually make them able to get up easier in the future as well. This is the second best rezzing ability in the game. So what you really want to do as the Guardian is survive, and once late in the fight, once your other 2 allies are dead, then you use this ability to get them back up and have the fight continue. That's one of the most important things for the Guardian. If you're dying first, you're not running into that strategy. It feels terrible. But the worst thing, the even greater feel bad, is if you miss with the ultimate art. And that is possible. The area effect is not huge. And so as you spiral into the air erratically with one wing, you can miss. And that is just one more element to make this character a little bit challenging. Hopefully, we're talking about these abilities at the time of recording. Hopefully some of these have been, if you're listening to these later, this class might have gotten a slight buff. I would personally like to see his Steel Guard protect him from area effect abilities and things which hit him from the back better. Anyways, this is a character class which I think could use a slight buff.
And quick question about dying, since we haven't really talked about that too much. You mentioned, if you have 1 res bar, 2 res bar, 3 res bars. So let's say you get revived with the 3. It takes a lot more hits. If you go down again, it goes back to 3. Is that the same amount of time each time afterwards if you've already gotten 3 bars?
The 3 bars is the limit. As I said, I think if you die again, you are at 2 bars with after the Guardian's ultimate. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it only cures the first bar or something if you.
No, I'm talking about if you get fully revived after going down the 3rd time and you go down again, is it still the same amount of regular hits to revive with a full 3 bars?
3 is like 5 or 6 times harder than 2. It's really tough. You're not meant to come back from 3 unless there's an ultimate art like the Guardians.
Which I know you have gotten me back from 3 a couple Night Lords, so thank you for that. And yeah, the Guardian, I like the design. I like the look of the character quite a bit, and I think you're right. I think that there is potential there. The character, though, that I wound up gravitating towards, and maybe some people might say it's more of an easy mode, and that's just because when you're playing as the Iron Eye, you're an archer, and you get to keep your distance. So if you have a decent head on your shoulders, and you know how to get out of the way, do some proper dodging, and do some support, playing as Iron Eye, it seems to be a little safer in many situations, I would say.
Yeah, this is perceived as the best or easiest character, and he's definitely the go-to for a lot of beginners. That's both a good and a bad thing. When I see an Iron Eye join my party, definitely worry that they could be terrible as a player. And it makes a big difference because even in this description, official description, it says supports allies from a distance. That's a lie because this should be played less as a sniper and more like Legolas. I hope that reference isn't too old, but Legolas zips in and out of combat. He will run up to people and shoot them at point blank. He uses 3 arrows at a time, and those are all things that it's important Iron Eye do. This is the first character that I used a lot as well.
I love the shotgun blast, like those 3 arrows. It's so cool getting close and just nailing a boss or a larger enemy with those.
This was my first character too, or first big character. I beat most of the bosses first with him for a lot of the same reasons you described. And then I watched someone who was actually good play him. I'm like, oh no, I've been playing him wrong this whole time. And it's even with this perceived best character, and he probably is a little too strong in my view. There's so much room to grow as a player and be even better. But let's go through the abilities, starting with the passive ability.
Yeah, passive ability, Eagle Eye. This is going to increase the chance for Iron Eye and your allies to acquire more items from defeated enemies. Great passive. This is one of those things that you're probably not even going to notice that it's making a big difference, but I can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to find something you will want to use that you probably wouldn't have.
So, for instance, the jellyfish can drop the jellyfish shield, though I don't like killing those poor spirits of children. The Crucible Knights can drop really powerful shields, so that's what this is referring to.
Yeah.
Now, his character skill may be the overpowered part. That's marking, and where you zip up and cut a foe to create a temporary weak point, causing the enemy to take increased damage from all sources. Not only does this give a 10% damage bonus for everyone in your party who attacks this.
Which is big numbers.
I think that would be fine as an ability, because in addition to that, it gives you a bunch of iframes. It is like a huge dodge. So if someone's running towards you, you can zip through them, or you can hit them and then veer off in another direction. There's a lot of nuance to this skill. It's really strong, and I definitely haven't mastered it. But in addition to all that, it kind of adds a bleed status effect in that they're marked, and if you do enough damage to them, this mark will explode, and they'll take like a huge amount of damage. It's like bigger than a bleed tick. And I think that's the part which is probably too strong. But anyways, that's how it is now, and it is very good.
It's the most fun part of playing as Iron Eye for me, because what it does is it makes it makes the Iron Eye, you can't just hang back. If you want to truly be effective in helping out the party and defeating these bosses, you have to get close and you have to dodge through them. And it's really fun to engage that long distance character and make him get up close and kind of get in the dirty. Then it's also encouraging movement around the maps. It's encouraging some close range shots, like when you do the 3 at once.
Speaking of go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just so in love with this being their character skill. Everything else is fine, but yeah.
The heavy attack is the triple shot, and I've seen people use this on the Moth. So they just get up really close to the Moth Night Lord and just shoot him, and his wingspan is perfectly big enough that they're able to get him with all 3 arrows. Anything seriously big, they'll just go up behind people and shoot them with 3 arrows. And it is worth mentioning that Elden Ring players, diehards, may be like, archery, no thanks. It's different in this game. He attacks faster. These characters have unique movesets.
Infinite arrows.
Yeah, they have infinite arrows, and they have unique movesets with their favorite weapons. His is he attacks faster and gets a triple shot on his heavy attack.
Yeah, it's very cool. And Iron Eye's ultimate art is the single shot where you... it's kind of like you want to get those colossal bows or something like the sorcery where you pull out like that giant Loretta's great bow and fire a single powerful arrow that surpasses sound, ignores defense, and pierces through enemies and terrain, dealing massive AoE, massive area damage, and staggers foes, and it's very good for reviving as well.
It is good for reviving. You can potentially get the boss and revive someone at the same time. This is a good ability. It's good for clearing camps as well. It's strong.
Yeah, Iron Eye, whole bunch of fun, and that was the first time I beat the final Night Lord was with Iron Eye, which was very cool. And
why do you contrast that with the Duchess?
Well, the Duchess, I tried a couple of rounds with the Duchess, and she was not for me. Now, she's a stealthy rogue, quick dodges, devastating damage bursts, likes to use a dagger.
So we mentioned that the Guardian has the worst dodge. The Duchess has the best. Specifically, she gets a double dodge, and if you dodge just once, she'll kind of sidestep, or not. She'll just lean a bit to the side, and that iframes are low, but allows you to continue your attack chain. But if you double dodge, she'll do a flip, and she has a ton of iframes when she does that. Now, she requires precise timing because she's like a caster essentially, who is in melee range for the most part. So you need to be. And this is a big part about the game. Even Iron Eye, which is supposed to be the long-range character, you need to be comfortable and to put yourself in danger and be in melee range. Often that's the safest place to be, and this is a kind of mage-like character. Her dexterity and intelligence are both pretty similar in terms of how high they are. So this is a mage character who can use a dagger and specializes in melee range and can be, well, she can use long range spells too, but her acrobatic dodging allows her to zip in and out of combat very quickly. She has a lot of options because she can use all the staves. And we haven't talked about this before, but these unique movesets sometimes require that you use weapons one-handed. So her one-handed dagger move chain is better than her power stancing. So if you have 2 daggers, it's better to put both in your right hand and switch between them if you want to use different status effects than trying to power stance them. Also, because the power stance locks you into attack animations a little bit longer, it can trap you in those attack animations, and you don't have enough time to dodge and react in time and get killed.
Question, how often do you play a character that, isn't by default a magic character, or you're playing as Wilder and then you pick up a bow? How often do you get away from like the default kind of weapon class or build that you start with?
Fundamentally, some of the scalings of these weapons have changed. So take the classic weapon Moonveil.
Yeah,
that's an intelligence-based weapon in Elden Ring, which is used by a lot of mages, and it's very strong, and they'll sometimes just spam the ultimate art the entire game. In this game, the designers didn't want that. So the Moonveil scales primarily with dexterity, not intelligence. And that's true of even the weapon art. So if you're a pure caster and you don't have any dexterity, you should not be picking up or you trying to use essentially any weapon. And there are very, very few exceptions to that rule. So now the Duchess is different, though, because her dexterity and intelligence are both high. So the Moon Veil is perfect for her. But we're going to come up to pure casters later, and they really are doing themselves and their party a disservice if they try to use melee weapons, even if those melee weapons were appropriate for their relative class to use in base game Elden Ring. And the opposite is true as well. The Wilder certainly does not want to be using seals. With some nuance to that, I understand that Iron Eye plus, let's see, some of the weapon buffs is very good. Blood Flame Blade, if I'm remembering that correctly, or the God Flame that you enhance your weapon with. I'm forgetting the exact names of those spells, but you can enhance your bow and your melee armament. You can put greases and anything on your bow these days, and they've dropped a lot of those restrictions.
And sometimes it would make sense to, if there's like a great seal and you need to have a certain element to go into a boss, and let's say you're playing as, Guardian or Wilder, would you grab that seal just for that one instance?
I mean, in general, so most of the time that element is scaling off piety or intellect, which you don't have. I think Blood Flame Blade is a little different. It has a unchanged value for the blood buildup, and it has the Black Flame Blade also has an unchanging percent damage health tick. So those situations are a little bit different, whereas Scholar's Armament is not very useful to the Raider or other characters which doesn't have any intellect. And you might do that out of desperation, but your primary goal would be to find a weapon with that element automatically enhancing it. And since if you're the Wilder, you can use any weapon, you just have to find one of anything. It could be a hammer, it could be even a whip. So the Wilder has a lot of variability. It has a lot of options. That would definitely be low on what you want to do with the Wilder.
All right, let's get back to the Duchess.
The Duchess. Are we at the passive ability? Yeah, the passive ability.
Passive ability, Magnificent Pose, allows for rapid consecutive dodges, reducing stamina cost and enhancing evasive actions. We went over a lot of that.
It also reduces the stamina, I think, for attacks and perhaps spells as well.
Yeah, so you're going to want to be using this often.
Her character skill is what her bread and butter, really. This is what makes the class cook. It's called Restage, and it replicates recent damage dealt to nearby forces, reapplying damage and status effects. Now, let's break this down. If one of your party members has a katana and it has bleed build up and it's whacking someone and they get a bleed proc, you can restage that and deal 50% of that damage again. Or if they haven't quite bleed procced, you can restage and then they re-hit again mechanically, and then during your restage, then the bleed proc happens. It is very powerful. It affects your whole party. It is targeted, so whatever creature you have targeted, everyone's damage is increased by 50% over the last 3 seconds. It really strong. And although she has less raw spellcasting ability than the pure caster Recluse, she can do comparable damage or can feel good about her damage because she can restage it and increase it by 50% in burst intervals. So this is her. What this looks like is she takes out her pocket watch, and you can do this mid-animation. This is an instantaneous ability, and kind of rewinds a little bit. So a bit of a time traveler, a few seconds back anyways. It's a very powerful ability and what makes her class strong.
And when I was playing as the Duchess, you told me to just make sure to just keep using it. Don't hold on to it. Like, I think it recharges fairly fast, and a lot of people might hold on to it waiting for something big to happen. And it's better to just like make sure you're not sleeping on it.
I think the best Duchesses are the ones who use the most restages over the course of the game. And I think if you wait for the perfect moment, you're going to be doing less damage overall than if you just use it whenever it's up. I think. Now, I have not gone deep into the Duchess. I'm just telling you what other people have told me on that one. But I tend to think that's correct.
And from my experience, I would say the character skill I enjoyed more than the ultimate art. The ultimate art is Finale, where you obscure yourself and surrounding allies to hide from foes, granting a brief period of invisibility. By all means, it's fine. It's cool. I have more fun with the restaging. What is like the unique aspects of Finale to you?
Well, as you said, this is a stealthy class, and this is an element of getting stealth into the character. It does make everyone invisible, which means if you hit an enemy, or what it means is the enemies will ignore you, and then once you start attacking, they'll be able to hear you. But then if you move to another location, it will confuse them again. And this lasts for about 10 seconds. You can potentially use this to start a battle, so you get a really strong start because the enemy will be confused when your whole team is invisible. Or you can use it mid-battle to help give you 10 seconds to get an ally up. Either way, it's not very strong, but it doesn't have to be like because your restage is what's strong about this character.
Yeah, that's kind of the big fun to be had with the Duchess. Now, let's move on to another Nightfarer here. Let's talk about the Raider. Raider's an interesting class.
Yeah, so this is the big guy. His official blurb is a powerful seafarer who can tank hits and unleash strong retaliatory attacks. So first of all, we haven't been focusing too much on the aesthetics, but we have for some of them. But it is worth mentioning that this is just a nice big guy, and often he doesn't look like Thor, or at least not the Marvel's Thor. He looks kind of like an actual muscle man. Like if you look at the Olympics and you see someone who's working actually at weightlifting, they kind of look like a roundish, big square block of muscle. They don't look like this Abby God of Thunder. So I really do appreciate that this body type is interesting. That said, this is the one character I have not played, and it's mainly because of his ultimate art. We'll talk about it, and again, hopefully by the time that you're listening to this, maybe at a later date, it will be fixed. But right now, his ultimate art is bad news, and we'll get to it. That's not to say this character is underpowered. In fact, this may be one of the strongest characters, if not the strongest. Very strong, but he is also just very annoying because of his ultimate. If you just like playing a big dude who hits people with hammers, this is the character for you, and you can try to make it less annoying if you're awesome.
Yeah, the Raiders going to be starting with colossal weapons as their preferred attack, and so the attacks are going to be a little slower, need to be more deliberate, and luckily their passive ability, Fighter's Resolve, has taking damage, boosting the potency of the retaliate skill, and cannot be locked down while using it. So this is a character that getting hit will make them stronger
if they've got their skill active. Now this is so the character skill, that passive ability sounds like it could have been just married into the character skill. The character skill is Retaliate, where you assume a stance to pummel vigorously, reducing incoming damage and delivering a powerful strike that can stagger enemies. To me, that sounds well and good, but let's be clear here. Aesthetically, what you're doing is punching people. So if a dragon tries to nom you, just slash you, you absorb it, and then you just set down your weapon and you actually just punch the dragon. Now, some people will just be like, this is what I always wanted to do in my life, punch a dragon. For me, that doesn't match my aesthetics, which is one of the reasons why I haven't played this character. I'd rather hit people with my big maul, my big hammer. This character has unique move sets for all the big weapons, including colossal weapons. I'm not sure about colossal sword, but great hammers and great axes too, I think. The downside is Raiders typically do not like these unique movesets. Unlike the other characters, these unique movesets might be not so good. So what Raiders tend to do is just jump attacks all day. Again, if that's something you're in for, you'll love this. Did you want to say something before we talk about the...
I like the jumping colossal, method of approaching a lot of encounters. And for the the regular Elden Ring, you know, I keep wanting to call it the base game, but for Elden Ring, not Nightreign, I have a lot of fun playing a character of this type. But for a game that's very fast and it's a lot about movement, the slower character, the stronger character is one that I just don't find myself gravitating towards. And I feel like it's a little half-baked. Like they knew they needed this character type, and I just feel like the skills don't live up to what I need from a character like this.
So I think what I said earlier is this is a strong character. There is a lot of weirdness to it. As I said, the attack patterns or the unique weapon attacks are not maybe very fun or not as fun. Fundamentally, it is a strong character, though. What's kind of messed up about it, in my mind, is the ultimate art, which is Totem Stella. The official tagline, official description is summon a giant tombstone that deals area damage, blocks projectiles, provides a damage buff to allies, and can be used as a platform.
So weird.
What it doesn't tell you is that it blocks only your allies' projectiles, only obstructs their field of view. The boss can attack directly through it. If they jump on top of this block to try to avoid the boss's ground attacks, they'll still get hit. So this is commonly called the grief totem, meaning you're griefing yourself and your whole party by making the game worse for them. This is what probably needs to change. It is incredibly annoying. If you're playing with anyone with range like an Iron Eye, a Recluse, you're almost guaranteed to block their line of sight and spells. It's just making things worse. Like the boss will be trapped in, or boss will disappear for seconds at a time in this thing. You can't attack them. And then if their loot drops in it, you can just have to wait until it expires. It is a big headache. Again, hopefully they change it. Now, that's not to say it can't do some cool things. I've seen someone throw it down on a boss who's about to charge. The boss couldn't get through it, so it charged in place, or its legs pumped while it wasn't moving, and everyone could just beat on it. And also, I will say that if you're solo, these Raider abilities are very strong. It's a very strong solo character. You're not griefing anyone else with your totem, at least. Or if you're playing 3 Raiders, the totems have synergy with other Raiders, so you can just grief each other, but at least you'll have extra strength because of it. So this is, again, I feel this game is incomplete as is. And it feels like a work in progress. And this is one spot which I think could be improved. There definitely is enough here, and there's enough raw strength that I don't think I don't think that if you're naturally drawn towards this class and if you naturally want to punch a dragon, you should stop yourself from doing that. Just be conscious of your grief totem and try to minimize the grief it causes.
Yeah, I feel like this is the character I see the least when I'm doing an expedition. It's this and Guardian that seem to be the ones that I see players use less often, as well as, I guess, the Executor. But the other ones you see quite often.
Yeah, it's definitely in the bottom 3, and as far as I'm concerned, good riddance. And this is, again, it's sad because fundamentally there's a lot that is good and strong about this character, but that ultimate art is a menace.
Yeah.
Like when you're racing against the clock, these are really night runners here. Everything has to go fast, fast, fast. You can't be waiting 10 seconds to get your loot, which is locked in this totem. And you can't, I have had once when we were at Castle, it just shut off the entire door. It was blocking, it created an immovable door where we needed to go next. And just like beating your hands against it, you can't do anything. Now, of course, enemies can walk straight through it. Great. So, well, they can walk out of it at least sometimes. I don't know, but it is, a
little weird, a little broken.
So I have sent feedback to the company. Their feedback team or the customer support is really nice about it. So, maybe they'll change. I have hope that this and other things will be changed.
Yeah. This next character, this is one that I see you use fairly often. We have the Recluse. a complex mage who harnesses elemental magic and supports the team with spell casting. What are some of your initial feelings on the Recluse?
I think I mentioned in the last episode that I'm naturally drawn towards the Unga Bunga style, clobber them with a huge mace style gameplay. I did not picture myself playing the Recluse. This is the Uber Mage, essentially, the Uber Caster. I mentioned earlier that they cannot use even Moonveil. If you are picking up a weapon, you really do not want to be hitting enemies with it. You might pick it up for bonuses, but it is pretty much always incorrect for you to be using a weapon as a Recluse. It is, that said, this is definitely the sexiest character, both in appearance, but also with abilities. You get like 8 times the number of abilities as other characters, and a lot of them are outrageously cool. And that, I guess we'll get to that. Let's see. Amongst those abilities, although there's some randomness to them, and it's hard to remember them all, and it's hard to keep track of what you're doing. So there's a lot of opportunity to look absolutely like an idiot. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity to look brilliant, which is really what you want in this mage caster class. So I think this is a really well-designed class because it allows people who just want to feel really smart to do so. It allows people who want to look really cool and sexy to do so. And it's actually just legitimately strong. That said, this is a witch. And if you thought Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3 was a bad girl, this witch is way, way worse, which is what you learn in her Remembrance quest. But at least she's here. She's trying to make right and fight the night. So it's an interesting character. Perhaps this isn't obvious. She can use all spells. She can't use any weapons effectively, essentially, but she can use both incantations and sorceries. Yes. So every spell. And that is just wild. And let's get into what she does with those spells, with the passive ability. Yeah,
and it's intimidating for a lot of players because it's tough enough when you're playing as Wilder or Guardian or more of the straightforward characters. It's tough enough going out and finding weapons in that sense. I feel like there's an added layer of complexity when you're trying to go out there and find spells because spells are very specific as far as to what you're looking for and the efficacy against whatever Night Lord you're going up against. So whether or not you find the spell you're looking for will have a huge it'll be different what happens later on in your expedition.
Yeah, she starts with the Pebble and the Arc, which are both very good, but they're on a staff which has low scaling. So you do want to replace that. And part of the interest of this character is that it is high variance because you're entirely dependent on one random spells you find over the map. And as you said, maybe these spell locations are not tied to specific locations. So other characters who use weapons can say, I'm pretty sure I can get a holy weapon at this location. That's what I need at the boss. That's not currently true of spells. If you go to that holy location, there might be seals there, but they won't necessarily, in fact, it's unlikely they will do a holy damage. That's again something that they might change, but getting a specific element can be problematic. But if you do get it, of course, then you can just you do far more of that elemental damage than anyone else does, and you can really obliterate the boss. So it is high variance. I also play Magic the Gathering, which is a high variance game, and this feels similar. Like if you embrace the randomness, you can have a lot of fun. Your runs will play out differently every time. You'll use some spells you never got to appreciate in Elden Ring. You'll find ways to make them work in this game, and you use just a lot of different spells, and you can lean into, because you can use any spell. If you find lightning, fire, holy, and magic, you can have all those ready to go depending on what the vulnerability is of the boss you're fighting. So it is a very strong class. I don't think there's anything wrong with this class. There might be something wrong with how hard it is to find holy damage in the game specifically. But so let's see. Have we talked about the passive ability? I'm so excited.
No, we haven't yet.
Why don't you tell us what the passive ability is?
Passive ability, we have the elemental defense. Discover affinity residues from enemies that can be collected to replenish FP.
So the way this works is that whenever other players can't see this, but floating above the heads of players and monsters will be a ring, an elemental ring, and that will show you what element you can absorb from them. So that means if your buddy got blasted by a fireball, you can absorb fire damage from your buddy. And then by the same token, if you threw a fireball at an enemy, like a tree spirit, then you can absorb that residue back. And that gives you power back, and also it feeds into your character skill. Why don't you tell us what that is?
The character skill for the Recluse is the magic cocktail. And I bartended a long time. I don't even know how to make cocktails. I don't know. I could make a Jack and Coke, so the magic cocktail intimidates me. Collects elemental residues from enemies to fire a spell with varying effects based on the combination of elements. So the various residues you are collecting is going to determine whatever this character skill does.
So the elements are holy, fire, magic, and did I say fire? Lightning. And that results into 14 combinations. And those are 14 mostly distinct abilities, all interesting, and they all have their use. Some are more exciting than others, but there are things like automatically parry all incoming attacks. There are things like get a huge amount of absorption, so you're more tanky. There are things like gravity well, which is a huge black hole implosion. These are really exciting abilities. They're all different, and if you use the wrong one at the wrong time, you can look like an absolute doofus. I have done that a lot. And when I started playing the Recluse, this is how I did it, because they're so confusing. There are 14 of them. I just ignored this. What I would do is I absorb these elements, and then I'd just fire off whatever random spell effect would happen. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I actually got pretty far that way. What I did learn is I learned the vulnerabilities of bosses, but I had no idea what my cocktail would do at any given moment, and you just look like an idiot sometimes. Once you play Recluse a lot and you do know what these abilities are, it is really wild. You can tailor, okay, I need to get infinite mana, or I want to do a delayed Thunder Blast for this monster. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can heal your allies, you can increase their maximum hit points, decrease the opponent's maximum hit points. A lot of interesting things you can do, but this is another element. This is a high variance character. Sometimes you don't have control over what elements you harvest. So if everyone's attacking the same monster and there is only one, say it's a boss, you might not have control over what element you harvest. Like you can shoot them with a magic pebble, and then they have that magic residue there. You'll see it over their head, and then you'll go to absorb it. But by the time you've completed that action, someone in your team has hit them with fire damage. And so what you're actually absorbing is fire, which means that you will not have control over what your magic cocktail does in the end. So these are very strong abilities, but they are high variance. They require a lot of thought. But yeah, as I said, they are very potentially strong abilities. What did I want to say? There's something additional here.
Clearly, you're very excited about this character.
Yeah, this is my main character, pretty much. We'll get to the Executor too and why I like them, but I find this character really exciting and very fun to play. Also, yeah, often very powerful, high skill ceiling on this character. But yeah,
very high
intimidating.
Skill ceiling.
But as I said, don't be intimidated. Just play it. Just embrace. If you embrace the randomness. And you're okay with high variance and play styles, then this is a character which you might really enjoy.
Yeah.
Also has a very good dodge.
The ultimate art, the Soul Blood song, where you brand nearby foes with blood sigils. Attacking marked enemies restores HP and FP for Recluse and her allies. Is it only the Recluse attacking marked enemies will do this, or any?
It's anyone. So anyone can absorb hit points and power back for a brief point. Now, one thing we haven't maybe reinforced is all these ultimate arts have the potential to get your friends up from who are dying. So this can restore 1 bar of all allies pretty pretty large area effect. So I typically use this just to resurrect my allies because it can be awkward to do that with spells in this game, depending on what spells you have. You don't want to be spending all your mana to try to get your friends up from the ground. This is another character like the Iron Eye, which you might be tempted to play entirely at range. But in reality, often you're safest if you're directly behind a boss, hugging their butt. And so close range spells are often the strongest, and that's often the correct way to play this class. She does have a strong dodge, but she is locked into long spell animations a lot of the time. So it is a very high damage class, high risk class, like the Duchess. But if anything, it's harder to play because your dodge is a little bit worse, and you're locked into spell animations longer.
And our next Nightfarer is one that you have to unlock last in the game, and that's the Revenant. This is an inhabited doll that summons spirits and grants temporary immortality to allies. General thoughts, it's a very unique class, which feels just like very specific to this game.
Yeah, so you also have to unlock the Duchess. You don't have the Duchess.
Yes, this is the last one you get, though.
Yeah, so I thought my initial sense was that this character class is underpowered. Well, after playing her a while, I think she's not necessarily underpowered. I think she just still a little bit suffers from some of the ways that sacred seals are designed in this game, and she has a hard time getting holy damage. She's not as weak as I thought she was.
Her just regular attacks are so interesting.
She's a very flavorful character. This is basically a badass Japanese spirit girl hungry for revenge, and she's trapped in a doll. So she's the smallest character. The meme is that the smallest character uses a big tower shield or a big weapon. If you're running around with Revenant with a huge colossal sword, again, haha, very funny, you're doing your party a disservice. Her default base weapon, her claws, are really good, and they have S scaling with faith. They are so odd because they deal magic damage, S scaling with faith, and they are claws. They look so cool. I'd like to say they're like normal claws, that you can put them on both hands. Unfortunately, technically, they're fists, and that makes a big difference based on your relics and what relics are good for you. So these claws are fists. Thanks a lot, FromSoft. But they look really cool. When you get a backstab, it just looks amazing. Like, this is a really interesting spirit character. Her Remembrance quest is pretty exciting and dark. It's like full horror story. Let's talk
about the abilities. Revenant's passive ability is just necromancy. Occasionally, enemies will be raised as ghosts to fight as allies after you defeat them. This is pretty cool.
It is very cool. Now, it's not very dependable because it's like a 10% chance if you get the final hit. But sometimes you'll get a Banished Knight or something really strong, and it'll be just really fun. I thought that this would make her good at soloing because you always get the final hit. You or your allies. If you or your summons get the final hit, there's a 10% chance they'll reanimate that guy. But in reality, she's really a team player, and your other player characters are just more useful. So she's not a character I would play solo.
Yeah. Then the Revenant's character skill is Summon Spirit, so she can play a lyre to summon one of 3 fallen family members. You have Helen, Frederick, or Sebastian.
And those are really homey names. So Helen is the page monster from Elden Ring, which you may remember as a rapier and can really F your shit up.
And they will do it here too.
Yeah. Frederick is most similar to the Pumpkinhead with a big hammer.
Yep, so Freddy.
This is, in general, the go-to, I would say, unless you want something specific. Like, he just does good stance damage. And I do love these homie names. Sebastian is the giant skeleton, which you may remember just scaring the shit out of you in the base Elden Ring. It's this huge skeleton which can blast lasers out of its eyes.
Yeah, so you'll be passively potentially summoning up some enemies. You're going to be using your skill to summon more party members, if you want to call them family members.
Yeah.
And then your ultimate art is the Immortal March, where you make self and nearby allies immortal, reviving downed allies, and triggering a special attack from the active summoned spirit.
So I guess it's baked into this ultimate art. So this will allow Sebastian to use his eye laser. So your giant skeleton will in fact use his eye laser at this point, and it is pretty impressive. And this is the best rezzing tool, best way to get your allies up. It has a much larger area effect than the Guardians. So she is the best at getting people up. And if they were already up to begin with, when it says it makes them immortal, I'm pretty sure that that means is that you can go down to 0 hit points, but you won't die.
Yeah.
So you will still take damage, but you won't die until the end of this. You'll be at 1 hit point at the end of this duration.
Yep.
This skill gets additional strength with relics, like a lot of these abilities. I initially thought that this, as I said, I thought this character was too weak because her allies, her family members die pretty quickly. But after playing her, that's the wrong way to think about it. Your friends, your family members, Helen, Frederick, and Sebastian, will die in a few hits. But even just taking 2 hits from a boss is pretty big game. Like, if you're distracting a boss for 2 attacks and just everyone has time to wail on the boss, that's a huge game. And as soon as one dies, you can resummon another one. So it's like a tag team, just summoning your favorite family members one after another. So you'll almost always have someone to summon an ally there. They will die relatively quickly, but while they're around, they are having a pretty big impact. Now, I will say, to a lesser degree than the Grief Totem, but Frederick and Sebastian are big enough visually on the screen that they can block the field of view, and you will experience this as the Revenant, and other players will experience this as a potential problem as well.
Yeah, especially Sebastian. Revenant's cool, though. I really dig the very unique play style. It doesn't feel like something from another game, which I appreciate.
I have to go back to her base claws. Do not replace these claws. Again, how many times I have to say this? Do not give her a huge weapon and hit people with that.
Hit some smithing stones. Upgrade them.
Because these claws have a unique moveset, and they're uniquely strong at resurrecting allies. Again, when I mentioned that you are slapping your friends to wake them back up, she does that better than any other class. So with these claws, even if you are not using them for some crazy reason, you do want to keep them because they're the best at getting your allies back at their feet. That said, unlike the Recluse, who has access to replenish her own mana, the Revenant does not. So though she has high faith scaling, her mana is limited. Now there's some ways that you can get around that for the final boss. You can get a lot of power back. But she is much more of a melee hybrid in the sense that you'll often be going up and slashing people with these claws. Again, really fun and really good. It is good. But don't expect to be doing pure faith casting with the Recluse. Do expect to be using your claws. And again, do not pick up this giant colossal sword and hit people with it.
And
love America.
Our final Nightfarer we have is the Executor. Your namesake, a katana-wielding warrior specializing in parrying and transforming into a beast, and also painting.
Yeah, this is a soft-spoken. They're pretty much silent in the game.
Are you drawn to this character because they are an artist?
Good question. Yeah, you see this character painting, and in general, if you try to talk to them, he won't talk to you very much. No, and also not only that's not the reason. I also hate parrying. I don't parry. It's my least favorite thing to do in Elden Ring. So, but what's not immediately obvious, perhaps, is this character has an S scaling in dexterity and an S scaling in arcane, meaning this character is the best at doing status effect buildup, whether it's poison, blood loss, maybe, I don't know if in this game, as I said, things are a little bit different. Maybe it affects Frost build-up too. I'm not sure. That doesn't not true in base Elden Ring. Like Arcane does not affect Frost build-up, but it might in this game. It does not affect Rot. But this is less, when I play it, it's less about being a parry specialist and more about being a statistician, where you're building up all these statuses. I can do a triple status build-up. Early characters won't have access to all of that, but even just one bleed is plenty strong enough. Most of the Night Lords are vulnerable to these statuses. So this is a very strong character, but it's not necessarily because of their abilities. Let's get into them. How about let's start with the passive one?
Yeah, passive ability, we have Tenacity. Receives a boost to attack power and stamina recovery after recovering from status ailments. That's very specific.
Yeah, and so, gosh, I guess it means if someone poisons you, and I'm fighting a Night Lord now, which does, you will get angry once it resolves, once you get cured, or once that resolves. But more practically, if you make yourself bleed with seppuku,
you go.
Yeah, then you do get this 20% damage bonus for 20 seconds. So seppuku is even stronger with this character than it would normally because of this passive ability.
And then you're going to move on to the character skill with the Cursed Sword, where you draw a Cursed Sword to deflect incoming attacks, building energy toward a powerful charge slash.
So this is the parry ability, and I think this is why people don't play this class, because they see this skill and they think, okay, I'm going to have to parry, and if I don't parry, I'm not going to be good at this class. But actually, unfortunately, or the opposite may be true. If you never use this skill, you actually might be better at playing this class than if you try to fiddle with this. Kind of like the Guardian's very defensive ability. This puts you in a stance where you're slow, you don't dodge very well, your powerful charge slash is unfortunately not as powerful as it's currently built to be. This is something that they might change, but as is right now, you're probably, in my view, you're pretty much just better dodging. Now, if you are great at parrying, you of course will enjoy this. And the way to do it best, as I understand it, is to activate this ability where you unsheath this parry sword, and that it will parry. And then the next time you want to parry, sheath it again. So you go in and out of this stance as fast as you can. You don't want to spend too much time in this stance because it's a bad stance. Now, say you parry someone and you stance break them. You then have to sheath your parry sword because it doesn't do very much damage, draw your normal katana, and then backstab them, or then riposte them. So there's a lot of fiddling, and in general, the juice is not worth the squeeze for the average player. If you're a master, parry master, you'll probably use this. You'll find a way to make this work. But if you're just kind of an average player who just wants to play the game or really just likes bleed builds, this character is for you. It is very strong, and I enjoy this character because I feel they're underutilized because it probably intimidates people with this parry billing, and it's very strong. And I can feel like I can specialize this character in a way which is very powerful. And if no one else is playing it, I feel like I'm leaving all this status damage on the table, so I might as well play it. So this is really my second most played class at this point, just because I feel it's low-hanging fruit that people are not plucking. And so I do encourage you, if you had any affection for bleed build-up in the base game, you are welcome to play the Executor. I think there is diminishing returns if you ever have two Executors in the party. Maybe it's not the best. But this is a very strong character. You can get seppuku relatively early. You can get it on your base weapon with the relics, and we're going to probably talk about relics very soon. So we can't not talk about the ultimate art.
Yes. The aspect of the Crucible Beast. So you're going to transform its aspect of the Crucible for a good lore reason, which we'll talk about in a later episode. But it's the Beast. Transform into a Primordial Beast, gaining a new moveset, full health restoration, and a roar that can revive allies.
So, as I said, most of these ultimates can revive people. This is one of the ways you can potentially revive someone who's all the way 3 bars. You can't really, the roar and the beast does so much stance damage, because that's what this is required to get people up, is stance damage, that you can potentially do it. However, you also are vulnerable to boss air effect attacks. Like, think of the Deathrite Bird's air effect flames. If they spatter those flames on the area, your model is so big, you'll take like 5 to 10 times more damage just because you're physically bigger than a normal player, and so you can die instantly. So this is a very finicky ability, which can seem very strong times, or you can activate this ability and immediately die, and you're like, what the hell? This is another very intricate ability. So let's go over it. Once you do turn into this beast, your moveset entirely changes. Your light attack becomes, you have a long slashing chain, and if you want to just bully 1 or 2 enemies, that's the best way to do it. You have heavy attacks with R2. Those I think are a little less optimal than the light attack chain. If you re-input the ability, you can cancel the transformation. So it will fully heal you. So you might be low health, out of potions, and you just pop this ultimate art to regain all your hit points. Immediately pop out again because it's hard to dodge in this. You don't have a dodge. You can jump maybe, but yeah, you don't have a dodge. So you are more vulnerable, especially to bosses with this. But it does tend to bully average enemies. Your block, or L1 on PlayStation, is replaced with the roar. This roar has a huge area of effect, and it can help get up allies. It can more or less stun lock normal monsters in a huge area. It's very useful. And then the L2, which is on the PlayStation at least, makes you do a huge wind-up slash, which will do a lot of stance damage and end the animation. So once you activate this, your ultimate gauge will tick down, and once it empties, then you'll revert back into a normal player. If you don't have a reason to end it prematurely, you want to use the L2 big slash towards the end of this ultimate art. So it is a very intricate ability, which can be very strong, or you can just die instantly. And I'm not sorry if I go through the entire run and never use it once. So that usually means that it's usually better in emergencies, or if you fight like dozens of enemies at the time. It's also, because it's somewhat problematic, I don't feel bad about using it to get items. There are unbreakable statues in this game, but your ultimate arts can break them. So this character, if you become a beast, you can just break these unbreakable statues by looking at them, pretty much. And then you can immediately pop back out of it and get the pretty modest rewards in this game. But I don't feel bad about using this very situational ultimate art to do it.
Yeah, and that's our Nightfarers. So this will help you choose when you're going to be. You go into your expedition. You're going to go through. A day is 14 to 15 minutes, and then we're not going to go through how the whole thing works. Day 1, you fight a boss. Day 2, you fight a boss. Fight a Night Lord. Let's say you get through the whole way. Let's say you don't. At the end of the match, though, you're going to receive some rewards, depending on, if you fully beat everything, how far you got. What's going to happen post-match, though, is you're going to have an opportunity to get some relics. You're going to have an opportunity to spend some merc at the Jar Bazaar. Maybe buy an outfit if you want. Do a remembrance quest. I think the biggest thing that happens, though, is you're going to want to see what relics you got right away.
Yeah, so the relics, this is what potentially can increase your strength from run to run. The main thing you'll gain is knowledge and understanding of how to use your character. The secondary thing is you can customize your character by choosing which relics you use. For instance, the Executor, if you find a poison relic, you can add poison to your weapon, and that's going to make a big difference to how the character plays out.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. The relics, they're going to be outside of the ones you get from Night Lords. The relics are largely going to be a little bit random. And, there's different levels, different tiers of rarity. The Delicate has 1 passive effect. The Polish has 2. The Grand will have 3. And you're going to want to look through them. You're going to want to see what sort of perks you're getting on here, because they can vary greatly, and they will just affect your next expedition in a huge way?
So, yeah, when you're trying to beat your first Night Lord, because each Night Lord drops a very important one, but while you're trying to beat your first Night Lord, you should definitely look and see if any relics you get will help the character you're using. You might even want to switch characters if you get one which is important to another character. And, of course, you're comfortable with that one. Let's see. Also continue to check the Small Jar Bazaar, because he will sell some base relics, which again may do the trick. And as you beat more Night Lords, his selection will increase. So do go back there, do check it out. Some of those are important and they can fill valuable roles. And this is another way to make your character mechanically distinct. And really let you make this more of a role-playing game.
Yeah, and this is, like you said, it's kind of the more meta progression thing that's happening. This is the way your character is going to get stronger every time you do a run, because you're going to find a new relic that will, certain weapon types do extra damage, or base weapon affinities vary greatly. And I know certain relics, they have specific character bonuses, and also you're just looking for certain types of relic bonuses for certain characters too.
It is very random. Do you want to go with the types of abilities that the base relics might have?
Sure.
The first one I'll say with bitterness is that it can have a lot of consumable nonsense. Like it can say you start with 2 fire pots. Now, fire pots might be okay.
Fucking nonsense.
Yeah, it is. Or it might say pots deal more damage. I'm like,
if it was a 200% more damage, sure, then I'll think about it.
I have heard that pots and throwing daggers are good options in the early game, but look, I want something which is going to help me against the final boss, and pots ain't it, okay?
Yeah.
So when you earlier mentioned you should look for things for your character, you should also have the expectation is that it's going to be tough to find something. It is random, and a lot of it is frustratingly nonsense. Now, I will say that once you start beating the Night Lords have very strong relics that you will be able to probably use. But it could be that you find something that is very good, like say you find seppuku as an Ash of War.
Yeah.
You're like, maybe I should try the Executor because I have seppuku Ash of War, can slap that on his katana and really, really go to town. That might be something that you do early game to beat, especially that first Night Lord. Now, That's not to say you should play a character you're uncomfortable with, but yeah.
Yeah, you can boost your attack power. You can gain resistances if you know you're going up against, poison type enemy. You can get poison resistance, enhanced stamina, FP recovery, increased rune acquisition, which never a bad thing. And you're going to get mixes and matches. So sometimes there's going to be, 2 effects you like and one that you don't need. You're going to find the ones you like. I wish there was a better way to filter through these and sort through these by certain effects or certain affinities, because it's very confusing to try and figure out what I'm looking for. And once you get something, put it in your favorites, and then that might help you a little bit.
Yeah, so if the Night Lord does fire damage, and you have a relic which gives you fire resistance, that's a very reasonable option. And I, who have hundreds of these relics, would love to be able to search for that, but I cannot currently search for that specifically. And that's another part of the game which currently feels unfinished.
All right, Executor. So let's say that someone wanted to find some specific relics that might benefit the different Nightfarers. What should someone look for, say, Wilder?
Before we go to that, I do need to say there are 3 types of relics. One with 1 ability, and if you're starting the game, you'll be happy to get 1 good ability. It might revolutionize your character. Mid-game, after you defeat a few Night Lords, you're looking for a relic with 2 good abilities. And those can be very valuable and you use for a long time. Now, there might be the 3rd ability, which is something like pot steal. You can start with 2 pots. Like, that's just something I've been doing. I always start with 2 magic pots with my Executor. Not very thrilled with that. But you take it. And then if you have the mythical, godlike relic with 3 abilities which help your character, You just feel you might switch characters because of that. You feel really great. Now, the good news is there's a lot of variants, but the Night Lords all give you specific relics, which may be very good. And also, if you complete your Remembrance quests, you'll get character-specific relics, which will benefit your character specifically. We'll get into the Remembrance quests more at a later date. But well, let's just go back. We'll start with Wilder. The relics you want to be looking for with Wilder are ones which give you +1 skill, which allows you to grapple hook twice in a row. The second one, which is good, is your ultimate art causes a fire, so it increases the explosion. It causes tick damage afterwards. That's excellent. And then another thing you can look for is killing enemies fills art gauge. So that means the more enemies you kill with your art, the faster it will come back, and you can just get it basically every battle in the base game. It doesn't help you fighting bosses, but at least it will probably be up for when you fight the boss. Other relics can increase the amount of times you use your relic during boss fights. That would be ultimate art gauge +3, +1, or +3, 2 or 3, that sort of thing. That's not as important in general. Now, I will say you have the option to replace his Ash of War. That's something that a relic can do. I would not recommend doing that. His base Ash of War is upwards cut, and that's actually pretty good. It's Stomp, upwards cut. The Stomp gives you good absorption, and then upwards cut incapacitates human-sized enemies or less and allows everyone in your party to beat on them. So it's pretty good. I think I'd be remiss if I don't mention the Everjail relics, because if you're learning the game, it's kind of a buzzword you might hear, and you might think, well, it's crazy that they didn't even mention it once. There's a relic which say you get a 5% bonus damage, and that's damage from everything, spells and everything, ultimate art, etc. And some pundits will say that this will give you a 30% damage bonus, 35% maybe. That's definitely an exaggeration. In reality, you should expect that with randoms who don't necessarily know what's going on or who aren't necessarily working well together, if you yourself haven't memorized the best locations to find stone sword keys, your expectation should be that this is a 7.5% damage increase. So if you find it early on or even later, you can equip it, but just lower your expectations. It's a fine one for Wilder and everyone else. Okay.
Guardian relics you might want to look for the Guardian, plus skill duration, anything that's going to be keeping that whirlwind lasting longer. Aggro when guarding, this is great because it's going to be able to bring attention to your character, which you want them to be looking at you as the Guardian. And reflect a portion of damage received when in Steel Guard. That's a specific one for the Guardian.
Aggro when guarding, only when you actually block an attack. You can't just be passively guarding. That won't work then in that case. When you reflect a portion of damage received, you can use that to resurrect your comrades, and that's the key way the Guardian resurrects people. Okay, moving on to Iron Eye. Another good one is +1 skill. Your marking ability is one of the best in the game. You can do that twice in a row if you have the +1 skill relic. The second good one is you'll get early Knight of the Beast. This is a Night Lord relic from the first Night Lord, and it increases your stamina and allows you to shoot much, much longer. Duchess, good ones are Horror Frost Stomp, which gives her frost buildup and gives her good air effect ability. This is just and one of the good things she's good at is using item abilities a lot because she has a lot of power. So this is a good one for her. Second one is a lot harder to get, Knight of the Miasma, which also will make her invisible when everyone suffers frostbite. You'll get that later. And the other one which I want to highlight is reduce skill cooldown time. Remember, her restage ability is by far the best thing about her.
Yeah.
You can reduce that skill cooldown with relics. Moving on to the Raider. The good ones are taking damage increases attack power, which is in theme with all his abilities, and damage taken when using character skill improves attack power and stamina. That's just feeds right into his game plan. Going on to the Recluse, the good ones are collecting affinity residue activates Terra Magica. So Terra Magica is what you always cast as a caster in base Elden Ring. You get it for
Yep.
free, essentially, with this relic. Now, unlocking, and the second one, which I think is really fun, is unlocking Sorcerer Rises or Sorcerer Towers, increase max power. But that's a good way to increase your max power in a significant way. That's also fun. Going on to the Revenant, the recommended relics are art, make it so her art gauge fills as enemies die, so you have her art available every battle. The second good one is power up while alongside family.
Which you're always alongside your family.
Yeah, you usually have a summons there every time. You'll get a unique ability depending on who's there. Then another good one is ultimate powers up family and other players. That's what I was remembering. This is what gives Sebastian his eye laser. And it gives other players and I think you too, plus 25% damage. Just incredibly strong. Very strong ability for other players. And then another one, she likes having her power increased with 3+ seals or unlocking Sorcerer's Rises. So increasing her power by getting by unlocking Sorcerer's Rises or by these seals, also very good. The Executor, last one, one you're looking for first is poison, probably.
Yeah.
If you can get poison on your weapon, that actually is going to increase the bleed buildup because you're adding a arcane scaling. Just really good. Then the other one is Seppuku. Those are two
Critical.
make the class cook. Not only does Seppuku add bleed, but it also just increases the base damage. And Knight of the Wise is a Night Lord relic from one of the easier ones, the Sentient Pest. You might get this relatively early. That is adding poison in a big way, makes you much more powerful. Then later on, you can get Knight of the Miasma, much harder, but that actually adds the third status effect in Frostbite. The other two good ones, or the other good one is when you roar in beast form, it heals everyone, including your allies. That's very strong, potentially. That is very strong. And the last thing I wanted to say about the Executor, I forgot to say in his base ability, use your katanas one-handed. He has a unique moveset. It's better than using it two-handed or power stance and katanas. Just use your katana in one hand. It's odd, but it's just the best way to do it.
And that was the rapid fire relic suggestions from the Executor. I appreciate you moving fast through those, homie. There is so much to this game, and there is just simply never enough time in the day to discuss video games. But we will be back 1 month from now to discuss more Elden Ring Nightreign, 2 weeks from now to discuss more Elden Ring with Tyler once again. But I hope that all of you found some interesting facts about your Nightfarers to use today, to utilize, something to encourage you to perhaps try a new character. And, keep an eye out for relics. Even if the run goes bad, you might find something that will help you on the next one.
Yeah, even if the Night Lord crushes you, you do get some relics for just having reached the Night Lord. So definitely do, if you have a shaky team, try to reach the Night Lord.
And special thanks to you, AE, for another wonderful episode here on Elden Dogs. If our listeners wanted to find you, check out some of your works, how could they do so?
Well, I am AE Marling on Instagram and Blue Sky. Ugh, feel dirty saying Instagram.
Yeah.
Forget that. But you can search for me. And I am excited that I'm working on soon publishing a new Solarpunk novel. The pitch is the Fast and Furious and bicycles. And that's called Neon Riders. And so I'm excited I'm almost ready to publish that one. So by the time you listen to this, it might be out.
Yeah, make sure to check out AE's books. And if you are interested in getting access to more episodes of Elden Dogs early, please check out patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. You'll get access to bonus episodes of Elden Dogs, of Raw Dogs, of Popcorn Dogs, all of our shows, and they're all fun, and there's a lot of good stuff in each show. And special thanks to Patreon executive producers Rycard, Christy Nick, Malekith the Black Blade, Blaggard Big Brian Ward, Jordan Hoslow, Sorceress of Blood, Festering Fingerprint Phil Wright, Iron Fist Phil Just Phil, Bell Bearing Hunter Bryant Ross, Crucible Knight Kelly Gutowski, Justin Mellismer the Impaler, D-Man the Azula Beastman, Lady Freya herself, Spetsnaz, the Fell Omen, and Ejot, Blade of Mikola. We appreciate your support. And yeah, get out there. There's Night Lords that need defeating. And we'll see you all next time on Elden Dogs.